Yeah, the past like 8, 9 months, I've been working on this sort of umbrella brand called Glif, which includes a few different things. So most importantly, so for today, is the wallet. The vault is basically like a limited version of what Kuba was just showing you. It's a UI for a Filecoin multisig. We also have these JavaScript modules that I can link to in the talk for building Filecoin apps. These are JavaScript NPM packages. We have this Filecoin verification service, which is going to be coming out soon. And it basically allows you to authenticate with GitHub to prove your identity and get a verified data allowance, which means essentially that your data is marked as real on the Filecoin network, and hopefully miners should be rewarded for storing real data. So you might get cheaper service, cheaper storage, or better service. And the nodes, the Protofire team is now managing these, but we helped at the beginning just spin up all the sort of Kubernetes stuff. But yeah, let's start with the wallet. So this is basically what you see when you go to wallet.glif.io. There's different options here. So if you just want to get started and start sending around little bits of Filecoin or just generate an address, for whatever reason, you can use these test accounts. This would be, like generating that 24-word seed phrase, which you can use in other wallets, or here again by importing it. If you're actually planning on using Filecoin to store, or using Glif to store a good amount of Filecoin in a wallet, we definitely recommend, like Kuba was saying, to use a ledger. Hardware wallets are much safer than anything happening in the browser. So definitely keep that in mind as you use this Glif wallet. So anyways, we could step inside. So right now, I have my ledger on me. I have the Filecoin app open here. It's kind of hard to see. But the Filecoin app is available on Ledger Live, and there are some blog posts that I can link to after this talk to explain how to actually get it. So here, I'm just gonna go into the wallet, and I'm looking up the transaction history. And here, yeah, this is an account I use clearly a lot for testing. And yeah, this is basically like the gist of the wallet. It doesn't do too much. The important things to note are you can send Filecoin by clicking this button, and I'll go through that in just a moment. You can also, one thing that's important to do when you're using a ledger on any wallet really is to show the address that you see on the screen on the device. So if I click this button, I see on my ledger device the address. Again, that's going to be impossible for you to read, but that matches up with this. And the reason why that's important is because you want to make sure that this, like, what you're seeing on the screen matches what's on the device, and you don't have any Chrome extensions or other sort of things interfering with what you see on the screen. Excuse me. So I'm going to go and say accept, and then I can also switch between my ledger wallets. And like Kuba was saying, these are deterministically generated. So every time you come here with the same ledger, you'll see the same addresses. So what I'm going to do is switch to an account that has no balance. So this one, I'm going to copy this address because we'll send it some Filecoin, and go back up to maybe this address and send some file. So I'm going to paste in my other ledger address, maybe give it 1/10 of a file or 100th of a Filecoin. And here, this transaction fee is paid in autofile. This is pretty small, so I'm just going to let that be. The idea here with transaction fees, in case this is something that's unfamiliar in the blockchain space, but this works a lot similarly to other blockchain networks, is that sort of the more you pay, the faster your transaction will get confirmed in the network. That is maybe a bit of an oversimplification, but generally that's the rule to follow. So I like to stick to the recommended amount in the wallet because I know it will confirm in a reasonable amount of time. And so now it's just saying, review this. You'll see the total that I'm going to pay is what I want to send plus that transaction fee. And now that transaction gets sent to my device. I'm not going to show you because it's really small, but you see a bunch of the parameters of that message on my device. So I can click through and just make sure again that it matches, like the value that I'm sending and the recipient address and stuff like that. So now I've just signed the message on my ledger, and now that transaction is confirming. And I can go in there and I can see if it's on Filefox, but I doubt it will be there quite yet. Yeah, so that transaction is not found. And as we wait, I can switch back to the address that should receive the file. And hopefully we'll see the balance just pop up by however much I sent, which was 100th of a file. So this should take a couple seconds. I guess while I do this, I can show you just some of the modules that we made. Let's see, I think it's github.com. So these are the packages that we use in a number of the Filecoin or in a number of the glyphs that we make. And so the ones that I think are the most helpful, Filecoin number is surprisingly helpful for basically choosing between different types of denominations. So it will just run the conversions for you. The Filecoin wallet provider, this is if you wanted to make your own wallet, this has some handy methods associated with it that will basically allow you to do things like check the balance of an account, check how much a transaction costs and stuff like that. The RPC client is a package that allows us to communicate with a Lotus node. And yeah, so I mean, this is a good place to look to if you ever wanted to build your own glyph. All right, let's see if we go back here. There we go. So this has updated. That's a good sign. And if I refresh the transaction history, maybe it hasn't appeared on Filefox yet, but hopefully, or maybe it did, but that's maybe a small bug. Anyways, that is generally how the wallet is working. I have a couple minutes left. I want to show you just the vault, which is what we use to basically interact with a multi-sig. And right now the vault has some limited functionality. So the first limitation is that it only works with single signer multi-sigs. It's actually quite like difficult to show in the UI, like, hey, there's a number of proposed transactions and allow people to cancel them or reject them and stuff of that nature. So the complexity when you have many signers really makes the complexity increases. So right now I see all of my ledger addresses on the screen again, and I need to choose the one that's going to be the signer of whatever multi-sig I want to interact with. So I know that this account has some multi-sigs. I know my multi-sig address, which I've gotten from creating a multi-sig elsewhere. Maybe in the future, we might allow you to create multi-sigs from the Glif wallet. But now I can step into the multi-sig and see a couple things. One, I see that multi-sig actor address that I just entered on the previous screen. And this is, you could, if you're familiar with like Ethereum development, this is a lot like the smart contract address of your multi-sig smart contract wallet. It's pretty analogous. And this is the ledger address that's the single signer of this multi-sig wallet. And so those two are kind of linked together. Right now, I can see the available balance and the vesting balance. And so the Filecoin multi-sigs allow you to basically put some funds into the multi-sig and linearly allow those funds to be available for withdrawal over time. So as more blocks get added to the chain, you're able to take out more Filecoin from your multi-sig. And so since this multi-sig has no vesting, or it's been a while, maybe it's already fully vested, here is, now I can withdraw all of the Filecoin from this multi-sig. And so it looks very similar, right? I can choose a recipient of the withdrawal, and I can take out Filecoin. I think just so I leave some time for questions, I probably won't go through that whole process again. But yeah, I want to see if anyone wants to see something that I didn't show, or just general Filecoin application development questions, I'm happy to field them.
Great, thank you very much. Maybe one question might be, is there multi-sig support with multiple signers yet, or is that coming in the future?
Yeah, I think that's something that we'd like to support in the future. Right now, that in Glif, that's not supported. So if I try and type in a multi-sig actor that has more than one required signature, it will tell me, hey, sorry, we don't support that yet.
Yeah, makes sense. What other exciting features are you thinking about now, or kind of what's next on ahead for the set of wallets?
Yeah, so that's an open question, and if people have opinions on this, or people strongly want a feature implemented, that would be really helpful. I'd love to hear from you and hear what that is. So we're still kind of temperature checking what people want and need out of this stuff. My personal preference that gets me kind of excited is different ways to interact with these wallets and different key management services. So for example, here we have basically I can log in via Ledger and I can log in with these test accounts. But I really would like to figure out a safe way for non-technical folks to use these wallets as well without having to understand what all these different options mean. Maybe like a sign in with email. And a step above that, something that we've been starting to think about is essentially mimicking a multi-sig wallet in Filecoin with people's social profiles, so that I could safely put my funds into a multi-sig, and in order to withdraw them, I need to tweet something, click a link in an email, and authenticate with GitHub. And we can sort of use those social profiles as proxies for signatures, so that non-technical people can safely use Filecoin with a multi-sig and do so in a way that they're more familiar with.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Maybe and question, I don't know if you covered this. When would people? I see the slider between T addresses and F addresses. When might people want to choose that?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. So the Filecoin network has sort of transitioned from what seemed like a testnet into mainnet, and sort of when the testnet started, we had everyone using T addresses, and when mainnet launches, we switched everyone to use F addresses. Really, like these are. I would strongly recommend always using F addresses unless you have some Filecoin on a T address that you used before mainnet launched. Using an F address will allow your wallets to be compatible with other wallets in different networks. It's sort of up to spec, where the T addresses are more of like in Glif wallet represent more of like a test network kind of wallet. It is a bit of a different, yeah, it's a little hard for me to explain in just a minute, but short answer is use F addresses.
Yeah, sounds great. And is there anything else you want to talk about or mention to the community, either future projects ahead or anything about Infinite Scroll? Used to be open.
Yeah. Well, so a brief note on Infinite Scroll. We used to be OpenWork Labs. We added a couple other team members, and we've started a rebrand. And don't be fooled by the name. We're not proponents of Infinite Scroll. Our kind of slogan is, "You must wear the skin of the thing you wish to slay." So with that being said, something that we're coming out with in the next month or two, we're trying to make the easiest, fastest, and simplest way to build peer-to-peer apps where the users of those apps own and control their own data. And that's built on Ceramic and Textile and a lot of the existing tools in the space, but doing so in a way that abstracts a lot of the complexity, both for the users and for the developers. And so hopefully even a junior developer with no knowledge of cryptography or blockchains or the D-Web will really quickly be able to start building apps where their users are in control of their data.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.